the World Soul Saga. A story that will play out over the next 3 expansions and will take us on an adventure in World of Warcraft like we've never experienced before. This saga kicks off with the War Within. In this first chapter, our heroes will be called on an expedition to the subterranean depths of
This means Steve got fired? No.
revealing a new world full of mystery, wonder, and darkness.
I don't think so.
There we will confront the shadows below and face new challenges on the battlefield, as well.
Last time you said this, Sargeras had regular fire, not fel fire. I wanted to joke and say, what if fel fire turns orange when it gets super hot? Yeah, and I've seen people say that, and it's one of the most annoying things that I've seen, because there's just no evidence of it. There just isn't any evidence of that at all. We don't see that occur, not even one time.
About dungeons, the raid, and our new system.
The only time we've ever seen someone go green to orange is when Gul'dan does it, and he's literally gets pierced through his body by the straight up power of fucking Sargeras. I know it's a joke. I know. On fire turning blue, yeah, instead of green, yeah, or I hear you saying instead of
We witnessed as Thrall found Anduin Wrynn, who has been wandering alone for the last few years, grappling and lost in his own thoughts and dealing with the experience that he's been through, as many of you may have remembered. Throughout this and our features trailer, we learned 2 very important developments, starting with these visions. Thrall spoke of a vision.
The radiant song calls.
Like a voice from a dream.
Yeah.
This radiant song will compel our heroes
the song
to
of creation.
its origins, and while at the same
from the
time,
goddess of creation.
A darkness has been gathering. Even as the heroes adventured on the Dragon Isles, and in the War Within, the mysterious harbinger that Iridikron spoke of will reveal themselves. Xal'atath has returned.
Harbinger of the Void, survivor of the Black Empire.
Freed long ago from the Black Blade that
radiant,
once bound
all
her,
colors, the beginning creation.
She is now the harbinger of a new era of the Void's dark machinations. And her message is clear. The Black Empire has fallen. The old gods are dead. And their ancient blood runs deep within the cracks of the world. We, the heroes of Azeroth, destroyed them.
Yeah.
The forces of the Horde and the Alliance have proven,
but where do they go when they die?
They are among the most powerful armies that have ever stood. The Harbinger has watched this. She is patient. And while the Black Empire failed, Xal'atath now seeks to set in motion the rise of a new dark legacy, one that knows our true strength and will seek to test it against a new threat of terrible power, the Nerubians of Ashkahet.
Pretty excited about this one.
Xal'atath has conscripted the Nerubian queen Ansarek, having offered her people a new future, one in which they will rise from their isolation as a mighty kingdom once again. And here in this sprawling city of Ashkahet,
same as demons, in my opinion. I think they go back to the Nether.
Soldiers of the Lich King that we faced before, but
they probably
instead
go to the
a new,
Void.
mighty stronghold of the Nerubians as they once were.
Probably the Void.
Deadly survivors
or maybe even the
of the
Dream
mythic
or something.
wars that have played out time and again over thousands
They have some weird
of years.
dream stuff, and they're very,
In return
they're
for their
Lovecraftian
loyalty,
in essence.
Xal'atath
Dream Quest
has
of Unknown
granted the
Kadath type
Nerubians the
shit.
means of a dark evolution. One that will turn the Nerubians into a new kind of ferocious and terrifying soldier that we will clash against time and again in the War Within. Now let's talk about who we'll be adventuring with. How do you like the key art?
Illyria, Anduin, Thrall
will rise to the call of the Radiant Song, and many will be faced with their own unique challenges. Anduin, having survived his ordeal with domination. Yes, look at the art.
Manduin Wrynn.
Incredible artwork. Anduin will be grappling with his relationship to the holy light that he no longer feels worthy of, while Thrall is seeking a connection to these visions, spreading across the world and working.
It's going to be fine because Anduin's not going to want that light back once he finds out the truth. That's probably why they took it away from him, because they probably want to have him as a character going forward, but if he is using the light, it's not going to go well. Also, I'm not thinking it's going to be good for Illyria Windrunner. Sorry, he just said something. I forgot this isn't a recording. This is live.
But that brings us to...
Sorry. He'll get a purer form of light. That could very well happen.
Windrunner.
Well, she looks different. So some like almost Tyrande-esque armor going on there.
War Within, as she, a void hunter, will use all of her prowess to hunt down the Harbinger, while being torn between her own nature and the maddening call of the void.
Yeah, remember in that one book where Turalian held a woman, a woman just down with chains of light, and Illyria took her void powers and tendrilled her brain and literally peeked into her thoughts and like into her brain. Like, remember how you put that in a book?
More about in just a moment.
Remember how like that's really fucked up?
Saga is
Like what?
Just beginning.
That's just how the light and void work.
Conceived to be yes. Conceived to be an epic worthy of the first 20 years of World of Warcraft, the World Soul Saga aims to
Anduin will be the champion of Azeroth, probably. He'll probably have to become a warrior like his father, because he no longer has the light. So he'll probably take and think about this. Sargeras is the greatest warrior in the universe. So for Anduin Wrynn to end up becoming like a warrior and potentially be one of like the saviors of the world is pretty fitting,
and the
considering.
importance of finding common ground as well as ourselves amidst adversity.
Paladin, I think no. I think something less.
Sharing more about our zones and cultures in the war within.
Not quite like that.
Thank you so
a little
much.
different. I don't think he's going to become a warrior or paladin. I understand that you're saying something like in between. When you think about warrior, they talk about how they have like a burning soul within, which is fitting because they said the same thing about Sylvanas and her warrior spirit. That was in the short stories, I think.
Represent our team and tell you about the places that we will explore and the cultures we will encounter in the war within.
Associate Design Director.
I can't really see all of you out there. I know there's a lot of you though because I can hear you. And I hope to hear lots of oohs and ahs when you see some
Yeah,
of
there's
this
a prophecy
cool
about 4
art
lives
I've
from
got to
N'Zoth.
show
Yeah,
you.
that's a pretty in-depth discussion.
So let's
though,
get started. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Kaz
Thank you.
Algar. Designated
Okay.
sector AR
As Taryn mentioned
938.
earlier, we'll be called by the Radiant Song.
It's near Pandaria.
That come from the heart of the Azeroth. This summons is
The
going
heart
to lead
of
us to the
Azeroth?
subcontinent of Kaz Algar, a place long forgotten.
Kaz Algar.
It's only through recent explorations
Titanic,
in Uldaman
obviously.
that we've discovered a Watcher report concerning a contingent of Earthen that was sent to this place long, long ago.
I'm supposed to read the
investigate
books.
a fissure in the
That was
center.
from one of the leaks, wasn't it?
What exactly that means, we
might have
don't
been.
really know, but we can probably speculate. So first, let's talk about the Earthen.
No, I don't think it. I think it might have
there
been
you
from one of the
go.
books.
There
It's
you
mentioned
go.
in game. It's mentioned
All
in
right,
game.
we have met Titan-forged Earthen before, of course, in Ulduar and other places. But this society of Earthen
Actual
has been
Earthen.
isolated within Kaz Algar for
Dude.
a really long time and have developed their own manners and customs.
Earthen that didn't succumb
Now,
to the curse of
visually, these
flesh.
Earthen are a bit larger in stature, and they're noticeably blinged out. They've got gems all over them, bedazzled, blinged out, you know, that kind of thing, right? But philosophically, they are guided by the edicts of the Titans.
Oh,
a
no.
set of codified orders, duties, and expectations that provide instructions for the core functions of their society.
Living in a
You know,
fractured
Titans,
society in
order, all
decline.
that, right?
Shocking.
But the Titans have been absent for eons, and the Earthen are no longer united in their adherence to these edicts.
For the record, the
Now
Titans
exist
could come back.
three groups that are estranged from each other.
I'm not sure, TM.
The
I'm
Oathsworn,
not really.
as their
I'm not
name
really
suggests,
prepared to
still
tackle that
uphold
kind of
the
question
edicts
right now.
faithfully and believe everyone else is doing it wrong.
Sorry.
Their charge is guarding the core way, a Titan
Perhaps.
passageway that leads.
They could have
right to
already
the
all been
core of
told. I'm
Azeroth.
not sure.
They're primarily the city dwellers. They live conveniently near the object of their responsibility, that core way.
A Titan facility.
Now, the Unbound, in contrast, have abandoned the edicts, and they are considered scandalously rebellious by the Oathsworn.
Unbound.
Their original responsibility was providing the materials to keep the Titan installations supplied, and they're primarily rural. They're living in and around the quarries and the mines where natural resources can be acquired. They rarely interact with the city dwellers. They feel neglected and ignored because they have a different opinion on how they
Okay, Jay,
should
thank you.
live. Now, the machine speakers have strayed from the edicts in practice, but not with respect to their overall obligation to keep the Titan works functioning. They've had extremely limited contact with the surface dwellers, and they express no little disdain for those who just don't understand the great machines. Their homes are built
The island's
around
close to
vast
Uldum
industrial
and the halls of
projects under the
origination.
surface that
Yeah.
allow them to perform their
That's true.
functions in accordance with edicts, more or less. These different perspectives among the Earthen and their variable adherence to the Titan's edicts has weakened the society as originally structured. And that's not good, of course, but a much more serious problem is their steadily dwindling numbers. For reasons that I'm not going to get into here and now, New Earthen can't exist until we help them out by doing some things.
Maybe their forge is broken.
And unite the Earthen society once more. Happily, as a result of our actions, the Earthen will eventually be unlocked as an allied race.
Nice.
Yeah, like sweet, don't they? Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Females with beards.
These player Earthen will replenish the culture's dwindling numbers and may join either the Horde or the Alliance.
Dwarf with beard. Yeah, it's just dwarves in general.
It is, of course, player's choice which side you wish to ally with. But as you can see from a small sampling of combinations, there's some fantastic variations and customizations coming for the Earthen models, including different gem incrustations, beards for all body types, rocky skin patterns, tones, and more. Now that golden mohawk with the braids and the fringe beard, that's quite the look. But I really like the beardless guy with the bushy blonde eyebrows. He looks so cool. He's just kind of like, yep, what do you want me to do? So anyway, all right, moving on. Another cool culture that players will encounter in the War Within is the Arathi. Yeah. Yeah. And you probably have questions, right? So these are descendants of the original Arathorian Empire. And they provide relatively recent
holy fire wielders?
Serious circumstances. And they find themselves trapped here within Khazalgar.
Holy fire,
Mysterious
huh?
Mostly because I can't say anything more about it just yet because of spoilers.
That's what I think Sargeras is.
Spooky, mysterious. It's
Radiant? You think it's from Azeroth?
As a people, the Arathi are worshippers and wielders of holy fire.
That would make sense.
They are
She's holy fire. I mean, that's what we say, right?
bringing light to the darkness. They're tough, resilient people, with every member of the society being an able combatant. Some few are further blessed with
Holy fire spells
abilities
literally
through
deal
their devotion
radiant
to the light.
damage.
Even their airships are powered by sacred flame.
Funny thing there too, Tyr has an
The
attack
extent
that
to
deals
which they're
radiant damage.
comfortable in
Their
battle
powers
is
are
probably a good
okay,
thing
yeah.
because they have established a home away from home in an enormous cavern bordered by an endless underground sea, from which terrifying creatures emerge to rampage and create havoc.
Azeroth is Sargeras'
Now,
lover,
might be a
maybe.
cool place to hang out, but they're really,
Or maybe-
really tough. These watery monstrosities, though, are nothing compared to the threat from below. A constant swarm of Nerubians has been held back so far from invading the Arathi lands. The assault is unrelenting, the threat is dire, and the Arathi can't hold much longer. These bastions of light against the darkness are far from home and limited in number. Sure would be terrible if there was also division within the Arathi ranks. Just saying. That would be pretty rough, what with them being so outnumbered. We could probably help them. All right, speaking of the Nerubians in the War Within, we'll explore their last kingdom deep within Khazalgar. These ancient survivors of the Black Empire who rejected their former masters have developed their own culture here in the deep darkness. As Taryn mentioned earlier, Xal'atath has made a bargain with the Nerubian queen Ansarek, who seeks a new future and renewed glory for her people. The Nerubians are extremely capable and devious adversaries who have been honing their skills with their constant assault on the
Evolved,
Arathi.
lost legs.
But domination hasn't come fast enough for the Queen's taste.
Thanks for the
as the
follows,
Arathi
guys.
has
Thank you
managed
so
to
much.
hold against this onslaught. So this
Wyatt
deal with the
Techevis.
Harbinger has
Leader
included
14,
some
thanks for the
assistance
follows.
for her troops. Through some dark alchemical process, Xal'atath has provided the knowledge required to evolve chosen Nerubians into paragons of their race.
Void
enhancing their
Ascension.
viciousness.
Oh
Queen
no.
Ansarek has embraced these modifications with
Xal'atath, you
enthusiasm
bitch.
and eagerly offered her army to achieve the Harbinger's schemes. It appears to be a win-win situation. But not all Nerubians share their sovereign's enthusiasm for change and her embrace of Xal'atath. Shadowy figures with far too many limbs maneuver against the Harbinger's plans in opposition to the Queen's desire. As you might expect, any foray into this Nerubian kingdom introduces us to a variety of citizens, including some forms we've never encountered before. Here's a layout of some of the Nerubian models that are completed and also some that are in progress, as well as scale reference for goblins and humans, so you just get a sense of size. In addition to the Nerubian citizens, there are also domesticated insects who serve the kingdom as beasts of burden and pets. The team is hard at work building out the full range of carapaces, carapae, I don't know, whichever, skittering legs, grabby arms, piercing spiky bits, and creepy eyes for you to enjoy, I guess.
I guess.
All right, let's talk about our zones. The surface of Khazalgar is our first zone, called the Isle of Dorn. This is the home of the earthen surface dwellers, as well as other native species of creatures. The fertile soil, flowering plant life, and generous waterways provide nourishment for animals in this untouched paradise. An important
That looks
facet
uncannily
of
similar
earthen
to
society
Ouroboros.
is Cinderbrew mead. This volatile substance is manufactured from molten
Probably
honey
unrelated.
produced by enormous fiery bees. Their home groves are a remarkable sight, as the hearts of the trees
Are you
themselves
fucking kidding
glow
me?
with lava-like fluid.
Look at that.
Harvesting is always an exciting time, as the ferocious creatures are
Very wild
understandably
hammer.
protective of their hives. Now, the roosts at Storm Watch are wreathed with lightning and fierce winds. These wild elemental rooks may choose
Fiery
to serve
bees,
a
yeah.
member of the Oathsworn, who, if so blessed, becomes a Storm Rider, one of the guardian warriors of the earthen people.
Holy shit.
The Unbound deal with hostile creatures from time to time, but for their most part, the existence is fairly relatively peaceful, fairly sort of peaceful. Their comfortable homes are often situated near the places where they once labored as adherents to the edicts. Those sites are now in disrepair, and in some cases, the lair of other creatures. Of course, the Isle of Dorn boasts a great walled city where the Oathsworn live and serve the edicts of the Titans. The city of Dornagal is the location of many important civic buildings, markets, traders, and crafters. And it's here that a traveler will find the expected amenities of a capital city, as well as the Titan Causeway, the defense of which is the Oathsworn's primary charge.
Titan Causeway.
Now, beneath the surface of the Isle of Dorn lies our second zone, the Ringing Deeps. As the name suggests, it is here that the earthen are engaged in their work in accordance with the edicts. In these industrial areas of this cavernous space are huge, complicated machines, lava-heated foundries and forges, and waterworks, both to cool and to power huge machines.
Rippin', thanks for the 2 years, bro.
These Titan mechanisms and keeping everything running is both the responsibility and the passion
That's on the new
of
sub
machine
badge.
speakers. The Earth has shifted too in places, revealing openings to the sky above to the Isle of Dorn. These cenotes bring light and water into areas once shrouded
There's
in
the
darkness.
candle little kobolds.
Abundant greenery, flowers, and creatures that do not typically dwell in caverns may be found in these idyllic spots.
Look at the big
It was
kobolds.
really important to us as developers that we delivered the fantasy of the hard-working industry, but still had some break-up areas of natural beauty that don't feel like dark, constrained tunnels. Now, as the machine speaker population has dropped, they've had increasing difficulties with kobold incursions. And indeed, the kobolds have taken over the mines, the work areas. They've even built a city of their own. Unexpectedly, the kobolds are actually
Bolsterino,
becoming
welcome
a
back
force
with
to
the
be
Prime.
reckoned with under the aggressive
Thank you very
actions
much,
of
man,
their
for
leader,
26 months.
the Candle King.
The Candle
They knew it had to be a
King.
candle. No take candle. No take candle. With the passage of time, the earthen have diminished both in number and in the knowledge required to perform the various routines to tune and repair the processes. The old ways have been forgotten, and new creative methods must be employed.
Almost looks
if
like
the edicts
Azurite
are
in that thing right
to
there.
be obeyed. So they're kind of making it up as they go along. From the Ringing Deeps, we descend further into Khazalgar to
Whoa.
reach Hollowfall, a vast hollow area in the earth, bordered by an endless underground sea. This tenuous foothold under the bright light of an enormous crystal has allowed the Arathi
Oh,
to
that's
survive,
not the tip of the sword?
using their airships to travel to
Oh,
high
it's a big
plateaus and
crystal in the
establish
sky.
docks, light towers, villages, and even a priory. From their capital of Merildar, these trapped people strive to keep hope alive and spread the light, while engaged in a near constant battle with the Nerubians at their borders. The open spaces, the bright light, and the greenery are intended to feel as though we're on the surface, somehow, rather than in this sort of strange hollow within Azeroth. The crystal provides
That's
brilliant
disappointing. We
light,
wanted the tip.
warmth, and growth for vegetation. You may notice that all the blooming plants have opened their blossoms toward the light and seem to be reaching in that direction whenever they're in holofall. Unfortunately, the crystal sun has been changing in recent years. Where once the light was steady and reliable, it now fades without warning, plunging the Arathi into darkness.
Oh, funny how that works.
They have built light towers and maintain their holy.
Funny how that works. Like I'm trying to tell you.
Of this light, the dangerous Kobis and other fierce creatures emerge from the sea to rampage. As the Arathi
It's a
are
NAARU.
really holding back the Nerubians, these
Could be.
unpredictable episodes are incredibly demoralizing.
Could be like a
and
crashed
deadly.
dude. No.
Happily,
no.
the light has always returned to the crystal, so far. And at the deepest descent in the war within, we reach the zone of Aj-Kahet. That almost rhymes. Anyway, the Nerubian city of Threads has been built on the ruins of itself, over and over and over again. As areas decay and crumble, a new district is built upon its ruins, and as a result, the city climbs ever higher.
Crash Draenei ship?
Those Nerubians favored
You said it, not me.
or possessing enormous wealth, or both, command the greatest views and live in the highest places over these swarming masses of the many districts. The Burrows is the home of the scavengers, the forgotten, deep in the decay and the filth. The
Thank you for the
Umbral
5
Bazaar
gifted
is a
subs,
trading
Guthin.
hub
Thank you
of
so
fine
much.
silks, fascinating alchemical discoveries, and other exotic
Back up to
and
700
hard-to-find
subs. Thank you
goods.
so much, man. I appreciate
The Skanes
that.
are the home of the lore keepers.
Oh, you did 5 before
and
that too. What the
scholars who
fuck?
toil to maintain the history
You
of
did
their
10.
people
Thank you, man.
and research myths and legends of Azeroth.
And then 5 earlier.
There are many other districts and less than savory neighborhoods.
Yeah, no mention
both
of Void Lords
well-known
yet.
and secret that the careful adventurer could discover should they
That's
risk
bordering
life
on
and limb to
nightmare
do so.
shit right there.
But the key to such exploration is fitting in among the Nerubians and being accepted. An enterprise best accomplished through skill in the use of
tree
pheromones
roots?
and considerable bravery.
I don't like that.
The zone of Aj-Kahet features areas of spectacular dark beauty.
Did that just go into
that are
the
inhabited
dream?
by
What
these
is happening?
creatures that have found a way to live among the Nerubians.
What the
without
fuck?
being deemed a threat, found
That's
to
just
be
a different
particularly
area down there?
tasty
Like,
to
that was
consume,
weird.
Or just too much fun to torment. The mobilization of
What if the
forces
dream
to
is, like,
assault the
breaching
Arathi
their
while also
area? That'd be
providing
fucked up.
military might to achieve Xal'atath's
sus of the dream.
schemes has stirred up all sorts of inhabitants of the darkness. And deep within the city itself, the Nerubians are gathering an odd substance, the black blood of the old gods, for some unknown purpose. But I'm sure that's fine.
I'm sure that's fine.
And now I'd like to talk a little bit about our zone flow. As I mentioned,
Guthin. Thank you again, dude, for gifting 10 more subs. Look at this dragon writing on this
we
fucking...
travel from the Isle of Dorn into the Ringing Deeps, into Holofall, and then into Aj-Kahet. In the War Within, all of our zones are connected all together using the airlock technology
Dude, it
that
looks
we
like an
developed for Zaralak
impact
Cavern,
point, dude. Like,
allowing for this seamless descent from the Isle of Dorn all the way to
it's
Aj-Kahet.
not the tip of the sword.
That was video I just captured last week of the transition between the Ringing Deeps and Holofall.
That was cool.
As you can see, we built for dynamic flight, and we were able to flow directly between the zones without the load screen.
Thank
There
you
is
so
some
much,
seriously
Guthin.
amazing
It's the
swoopy
tip of
goodness
something.
to be had moving across these zones and through these spaces. It feels
We've had too many
so
abandoned
cool
systems, yeah.
to burst out of a really tight
good. Good
area
that they're
into
keeping
just a huge drop like that. It's so exhilarating.
Who's to say a
Now,
crystal
this
didn't grow
blobby
around the
map
tip
that
of the
I've got up
sword?
here was an early attempt during development of our zone flow.
Because it cycles for
to
them.
try to
I just don't know
figure
how long
out
it's
how
been
we
there
would
for. It's
stack
important.
these zones together.
But it does
and
look like it
achieve the
impacted
relationship
through the
between their
fucking
geography and geometry
sky.
that made sense and felt great to traverse. We ended up with something slightly different than this, but this is pretty representative to explain
Azurite covered
what
sword
the
tip?
world builders were thinking about when
Maybe.
they planned these spaces
But
out.
if it changes to void, that kind
It was
of...
really important to our design that while 3 of the 4
so
zones
sure about
are
that.
technically underground, they didn't feel that way.
I feel like if it wasn't a crystal... I feel like if it was the tip of the sword, they would just say it,
We
right?
pursued that goal by
Wouldn't they
introducing
just
the
say that, I
natural
think?
cenotes in the Ringing Deeps and leaning into the fantasy of the classic underground foundry and industrial workspaces. So even in the zone that felt the tightest, there's places that look as though they're actually on the surface. And within Holofall,
That's pretty sick.
we created a massive hollow space in a
I like the
cavern so
verticality.
vast it feels like an exterior, with a huge artificial sun in the form of a gigantic crystal. And in Aj-Kahet, we leaned
Yeah, it's a
hard
gigantic
into traditional
crystal.
Nerubian architecture.
Big
with
artificial
hanging
sun.
nests and huge
Yeah,
palaces
it can't be the
built
tip of the
all
sword
over a
then.
decaying city.
But it does look like it
which
got
falls
stuck
away
there
into the
somehow.
depths. And that is the last bit of eye candy I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this peek at what we've got in development.
You know, one of the expansion announcement
So now
trailers
it's
is
time
going to
for me
have
to
them
introduce you to Morgan Day, who's
on the
going to
seat of the
give you
Pantheon.
lots of
They're
information
gonna give us
about
one
dungeons,
of those.
raids and systems.
They're gonna give us one of those real
Sure.
high resolution
Pyro.
cinematics of the seat with all the Titans. It's gonna be fucking epic. They're gonna be so fucking huge. Ah, it's gonna be cool. Sargeras is gonna be so pissed. They're gonna probably light forge him or something, or
Hello,
extinguish his
Blizzcon.
flame. It's gonna be fucked up. I know that the seat of the Pantheon is gonna be the final raid. Very well could be where we fight all the Titans.
Content, features, and systems.
I do think the Titans. I think A&R is probably the final boss.
Faces that I'll regret later in
I mean-
thumbnails, but whatever.
We're gonna have
First
to
up,
fight
let's
them.
talk about dungeons. There will be 8. Oh. There will be 8 new dungeons coming in the War Within, 4 during level up, 1 in each of the 4 zones that Maria just walked us through,
Old City.
as well as 4 at max level. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in these dungeons. For instance, we have like a kobold dungeon where you'll meet that Candle King, where there's
Priory
like
of the
a mechanic that
Sacred
takes
Flame.
place. You have to kind of keep it going to light your way.
The Dawnbreaker.
There's a dragon riding dungeon, of course, but also one of my favorites.
Maybe
is
the
Cinderbrew
Dawnbreaker's-
Meadery that
Maybe
Maria
that's
just
the
talked us
crystal
through.
thing.
So this is a dungeon that takes place on our first zone, the Isle of Dorn, which is where you'll experience,
Fire
all of our
bee.
earthen buddies, and this is the place where they make that Cinderbrew mead that she was
Dark
talking
Flame
about.
Crest.
They take all that honey that they gather from throughout the zone to make the mead, to do all kinds of fun and/or nefarious things with. Although I do have to say, I feel like they're a little bit behind the times. I feel like all the kids are drinking that, hard seltzer or something these days, but whatever. They're old school, I get it. Next up, our raid, the NAARU Palace. So this is an 8-boss raid that will take place
8 bosses,
in the zone
nice.
of Aj-Kahet. And this is really the
that's
culmination
good for
of all
a
of those
first raid.
machinations we keep hearing about that we see play out between the Nerubian Empire, their queen, and her collaboration with Xalatath. So for this next one, we don't normally show
looks
things
just
this
like
early,
Aberrus?
but I thought it'd be cool to share. On the left there, you
familiar.
can kind of see the top-down view of the raid, and on the right, it's more of like a side cutout. So we like to work on all of our dungeons and raids when they still look like this, as it's much easier to iterate while we're in 2D than it is to kind of change the zones around once we're in the game and it's all blocked out.
Interesting.
So to step us through the raid really quickly, after barging through the front door, you'll very quickly fall and/or get knocked into one of those giant pits of that black blood of the old god that you'll hear much more about in Aj-Kahet. And then you'll battle
I
your
wonder if
way
we'll damage the
through
dream in some way, the upcoming
and then
World Tree
try to
raid.
traverse
I
your
kind of hope that
path
Farak is
through
successful
the
in
stalactite
destroying
ring,
some
which
of the
is not a
infrastructure,
final
because
lane,
I do think the
promise.
dream
And so you finally fight your way
the dream is like a drug that
into
keeps
their
Azeroth
sanctum,
in
where
a
you'll
permanent
face-to-face
sleep, and
with
it's
her
not good.
as the end boss.
It's not good. It's
so
fucked
as you can
up.
see, this will kind of feel like a winged raid in terms of the vibes.
And the idea that
In terms of the
Sargeras was
player
trying to wake
experience,
her
it'll
up
actually
is
be quite a
like
bit more linear than what you might be used
kind
to
of-
for a raid with some winged
mean,
vibes. So something that I also think is fun
we'll
to
see.
talk about really quick is with all of our dungeons and raids, we like to try to explore like what is the thing that's going to make this space feel really unique, that's going to make it stand out from all the other times that we've built these dungeons and raids. And with
Some
this
of that ice
space,
they were
we
mining
really
look like Ice
thought
Crown
that,
ice, which is
given
like
that we
blood
have
of Yogg,
Nerubian
right?
to
Old
play
God
with,
blood?
They've got
Could
all
be.
these amazing like webs and silken threads that you can kind of traverse the zone through. We thought it'd be really fun to explore verticality as a major element to this raid.
Area Nana,
So I think
jeez.
that'll be really fun to see what the team comes up with for that.
Yeah.
Next up, let's talk about systems.
He's worried about that.
So I want to walk you through some of our features.
They did say they're gathering Old God blood for
high
something
level,
inside the city.
but first,
Maybe a
we'll talk about
resurrection?
philosophies that are really guiding us to add these into the War
I
Within.
wonder if you kill an old god, if it severs it from its physical
first
form
and
and allows it to be reborn
we
as something
really wanna
different.
continue to
I wonder if
extend
we're going to
the
see an old god
philosophy
come
that
back
we
as what it
into
originally
the
looked
War
like, or
Within.
something
And
different, or
really,
like,
when we
I
talk
don't know.
about
I don't know.
that,
We'll
there's
see.
3 main pillars that I want to touch on. First, we really want to make sure that we're focusing on evergreen features. We want to make sure that we're making World of Warcraft better forever and not focusing on things that we know we're going to have to leave behind as we move into future expansions.
Good.
Next,
How it should
we
be.
want to make sure that there's something for everyone. So whether you're a hardcore
What was
ranger,
Gahoon again?
PvPer, a collector, or currently like Holly, you just love
Gahoon was a
to
Titan
vaults,
experiment.
run around the world exploring things. We want to make sure that there's something
That they tried to use a re-origination beam on, which looks like a beam of
resonates.
light, and when it fades, it turns
And
purple,
finally,
like either Void or
We wanna make
Arcane or
sure that we're
something.
continuing
Very
to
curious.
build on our philosophy
Gahoon is a big
and
key.
build on our systems and
Big hint.
content with people who play multiple characters in mind. We want to make sure. Woo! We want to make sure that we're building
that's a
all of our
good-
systems
that's a good idea,
to
Lucky
really
Ped.
respect the time of the player behind the keyboard and not focusing so much on the accomplishments of that individual.
Maybe they're
character.
starting to hear those visions, see that stuff now because of something that happens in the raid. Maybe Farrakh
Let's
is
talk
at
about
least
delves.
partially successful.
Delves are a new feature that will be integrated into the outdoor world experience, where the fantasy of these is actually that you'll be joining the Dragon Scale expedition and their search for lost treasures all across Khazar.
What are the conspiracies she mentioned in the previous announcements? There's another hidden old god?
Feature that
I
is
don't really
really
think so. I think
integrated
it's a
into that
grander
outdoor world
conspiracy,
experience.
something a
We
little
want
bit
Delves to be a
little
new pillar of
crazy,
in-game content for
little
those
bigger.
outdoor world explorers. We really view this as something like when we added World Quest back in Legion, where they are going to be really integrated and
problem,
transformative into that outdoor world, especially that endgame loop. So one of the main reasons I'm stoked about Delves is that these will provide an opportunity for us to, give seasonal content and rewards to those outdoor world explorers. So that means things like, rewards that you're used to, like mounts, achievements, titles, but we'll also be adding a outdoor row to the Great Vault with War Within.
Oh. Go out and do world content and get a better chance at loot for the week after finishing Mythic
So
Plus.
that all of you outdoor world
and raids and
explorers
stuff.
will
That's
be
pretty
able
cool.
To share in the joy of
They're pushing more
rushing
world
to the Great
content. They're
Vault
trying to make
every
world
week
content
to
more
collect
relevant to
your
go out
loot.
and do. That's good. It's a healthy change.
There will also be 13 unique delves that will be launching War Within with. And delves will scale
these like
from 1 to
scenarios?
5 players and be role agnostic. So that means if you want to play a delve solo,
No, it's
that's
outside.
Totally cool. If you want to go with you
Integrated
and your partner,
outside.
that works as well. Or you can bring your whole dungeon group in, and the delve will scale based on your group size and your roles.
That's pretty cool. That sounds cool. Make the world feel big again by putting stuff
And
that
I would be
means
remiss
something
if I
in
didn't
it.
mention one of my favorite features of delves, which I think Maria alluded to earlier, which is that there will be an NPC companion joining you on all of your adventures. So for season 1, that'll be Bran Bronzebeard, as you can see.
Oh no. Don't do
Bran
it.
Will be tagging along with you.
That starts
all of
with
your delve
Bran.
adventures And will totally.
Oh,
never,
no.
not even once aggro.
Don't
pack of
do
monsters
this.
That you didn't want him to, and I don't have my fingers crossed behind my back right now.
Don't do this.
So, Bran will have a customizable talents and mechanics and abilities.
Champion!
You'll be able to
I'm coming back!
to suit your playstyle and needs. So, maybe you need a little bit of extra healing. Well, you can load Bran out to provide that for you. And finally,
Season 2.
wouldn't be exploring with the Dragon Scale Expedition. if
Season 2, it's
at the
Magni
end of every
Bronzebeard.
delve, there wasn't this massive treasure trove that we need Bran to open for us, which hopefully brought a couple of keys to open some of the chests in there. But before Bran can open that that vault for you, you'll need to maybe defeat a boss, maybe you'll solve a couple puzzles, something like that, and then Bran will be able to open that vault door for you.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of like maps in Final Fantasy, except it sounds cooler in my opinion.
Next up, let's talk about Warbands.
Sounds like they're taking a little bit of Variant Dungeons and iterating on it. I don't know. Doesn't really sound like Variant Dungeon too much to me.
Warbands are a system that we're introducing that will really be the representation
It's not a
of
dungeon.
all of your characters
Doesn't have
across
like a
your Battle.net
storyline.
account.
I don't know.
Warbands are an opportunity for us to create a platform where you can share
Fall next year,
achievements,
Andrew.
resources,
Fall
and all that other
2024.
good stuff across all of those characters. So the goal of this system
I do think
is
maps in
really to be
14 are
that
pretty boring,
representation
too.
Of the
Yeah.
philosophy shift that I mentioned earlier about
They're the same fucking
really
thing,
respecting
over and
the
over
time
and
of the
over
player
and over
behind
and
the
over.
keyboards and not those individual characters. There's actually a ton of additions and modifications. We've talked about
Dynamically
a few here.
scalable party size sounds
There's
very
no,
variant.
Singular UI
I mean, that's just about it, right?
Warbands. It's more of like
Dynamically
all these
scalable party size
modifications and
exists in many
updates
different
and
game modes and
features are
many
like
different
kinda
games.
wearing a
That's
big
not unique
coat
to Variant
that says
Dungeons.
Warbands on the back of it. It's how I kind of keep it straight in my head. But just to talk
I'm
about
I'm saying I don't think
features,
that the suggestion that they modeled this off of like
the,
that's kind of what it suggests to me is
transmog
oh
rules
it's
of
how it's
you
variant
acquire
dungeons. No, it's
those
really not. It's not like it at
appearances
all.
in the War Within. So for all
don't
of
know.
you who have
Doesn't seem like it to me.
So that means all of you who have probably had to run 4 characters through all
Well, it's
of
not
those
flex
legacy
rating since
instances
MOP,
just
right.
to make sure you're collecting all the appearances.
I think because it's also role agnostic and you travel with a quest-related NPC. Yeah, that's yeah.
And, oh yeah,
that adds to it. Yeah.
Holly mentioned this already, but this is obviously one that people are looking forward to. All of our reputations as well as renown in the War Within will be shared across your entire account.
Nice. Let's go, dude. Thank goodness.
Last but not least, let's talk about hero talents. So here's a quick mock-up of what the UI will look like that I think really helps explain how these integrate into our
Role
current
agnostic. It
talent
doesn't
trees.
matter what role.
But really quick,
It's-
let's take a look at
do any of them.
how this will work. So there will be 3 new hero talent trees per class, and 2 will be available per specialization that you can freely choose and swap between. And also, this is another evergreen feature. This is a system that we think is going to provide a new vector of choice and customization for you and all of your classes, as well as create opportunities for us to really dig into some of those core class fantasies that are, so amazing. So hero
That's cool.
talents will introduce these new, small, self-contained talent trees like you just saw in the UI. And the way I like to think about it is like, currently we have 2 types of talent points, right? We have class talent points and specialization talent points. And now in the War Within, there'll be a 3rd type called hero talent points. So let's look at a quick example, which hopefully explains it a little bit more. This is a warrior, as you can see. These are the 3 hero talent trees that they'll have available: Mountain Thane, Colossus, and Slayer. And as you can see in the top,
Slayer.
Protection, who will be able to choose between Mountain Thane and Colossus. Up on the right, you see Fury. Yep, that's right. Mountain Thane and Slayer are their options. And down at the bottom, Colossus and Slayer are their options. So this is how the majority of our classes
like sub
are gonna
jobs.
look in the War Within.
Yeah.
The exception, of course, being Druids and Demon Hunters, who are a bit special, so theirs will look a little different. So let's take a look at how you'll unlock the system.
Slayer's
as well as
clearly
how
ripped
it'll
from
feel playing
RuneScape.
through the War Within.
Leave me alone.
So the system will automatically unlock at level 71, and it'll just kind of appear in your UI. You'll earn 1 talent point per level as you level from 71 to 80. And there are 10 talent points in total, with several choice nodes along the way. So I like to think of this as being similar to like the Legion artifact, where as you were leveling and progressing, you were making some choices along the way.
Except you're
but
not
ultimately,
grinding
you're gonna unlock
Azerite
the whole
power.
tree.
There was
And
an
also,
end.
I want to be very clear here. These are extremely low friction to swap between those choice nodes, as well as to swap between the different hero talent trees.
Nice. Good. Don't make it a fucking chore.
So, this should
See you,
be
TM.
very
Take care, man.
analogous to your current talent trees, and will follow all the same rules that you used to there. So, at the start of a raid boss, before Mythic Plus starts, before an arena match kicks off, and anywhere in between. And to wrap us up, I wanted to show off a really quick video of what hero talents look like in action. So this is a warrior, as you can see, pop an avatar, jumping in. And this next one is that same warrior with the Mountain Thane talent tree. As you can see, Stormbolt hits multiple targets. There's a couple of cool new V effects, and a lot of other cool stuff going on there as well. I heard some oohs.
That's kind of cool.
Effects artists will be happy. So that about wraps us up for our What's Next panel.
Do a lore panel. Is there a lore panel?
Hope you really liked what you saw here, and if you'd like to know more, please join us tomorrow at the deep dive panel at noon, where Ian will walk you through some of what you saw today in more detail. Woo, Ian! As well as a bunch of other cool new stuff in the War Within. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great BlizzCon. Bye!